Well, good hello to you. It's your host, me, Alexander T. Newport, your Philobabblist Extraordinaire. Today's date is the 13th of August, 2017. We scoff at the idea that we live in hell, because hell ain't always a bad place to be. In fact, I reckon about 75% of the time in your personal life, behind your eyes and between your ears, 75% of the time, life is okay. You know, the walls are holding up, your bed is holding up, you've got a place to sleep, you've got a place to shit in private, you've got food to eat, you've got some toys or creature comforts. 75% of the time, all that stuff is holding together, things are okay inside of you, Sure, things could always be 1,000 times better, and that's what fucks you up, is that idea of better. That's one of the insidious factors that make this a fucking hellish nightmare. That whole thing of better. Let's get better. Let's make it better. Let's make it perfect. Let's get it whiter. Let's get it brighter. Let's get it shinier. So yeah, man, about 75% of the time. Wouldn't you agree? About 75% of the time? I mean, I guess it depends on what fucking mood you're in while you're watching this or listening to this. If you're in a bad mood, you might say, no, actually. It sucks all the time. But if you happen to be grooving along in one of those 75% of the time, it's alright, feeling okay kind of situations, then, you would agree. Roughly. I mean, and it's not necessarily consecutively, this 75%, 25% thing. It's just, 25% of the time, there's just, some kind of fucking surprise. You go to bed tonight, you feel just fine. Sometime in the middle of the night, you start to get a fucking sore throat. Wake up in the morning, starting to, you got a fucking cold coming on. Or the flu, or whatever the fuck. Terrence McKenna thought he was just having one of his fucking migraines. Turned out he had a fucking brain tumor. And a type of brain cancer that just, it ain't gonna fucking quit till it kills you. So, but nonetheless, 75% of the time, things are grooving along, you see. And then it said, because you don't think much about this stuff. I mean, what we're talking about here is philosophy. But the word philosophy, as far as I'm concerned, is synonymous with the word spirituality, and it's synonymous with the word enlightenment. All three, they're all about the same thing. Why do we exist at all? Why are we alive as temporary creatures in a temporary world? Why do we have this idea of eternity? So I started thinking about it when I was 6.5. I asked the old man, I asked my dad, what does it mean to die? And he said, when you're dead, you're dead. No more thinking or feeling ever again. And I just could not accept that as true. I did not tell him that, but I could not accept that as true. And so I began to pursue the subject, to think about it. I'm now 53 years old. It's been 47 years since that fateful summer night in 1970 when I asked the old man, what does it mean to die? So chances are I really have, actually, literally, thought about this shit a hell of a lot fucking more than you have. And probably will have thought about it more than you have, no matter how long you live to be. So the hell we're talking about, it's not a biblical hell, it's not a religious hell. You were not compelled. We were not compelled. No one made us come here to experience this hell. We chose it. Think about it long enough and you realize that all living beings are people. The bugs are people, the fish are people, the birds are people, the insects are people, the aquatic creatures are people. They're all people. All living creatures are people. They're all animated by the same life force, the same kind of life force, the same kind of energy. Start thinking about this shit, reading about this shit, and then thinking about it when you're on psychedelics, and eventually you'll realize that this animating life force that animates everything, be it the tree, the flower, the bumblebee, the fly, the people, the good people, the bad people, the rich people, the poor people, the ugly people, the pretty people, that energy is perfect eternal conscious energy. And that every living being, every physical living being you see, is the creation of its spiritual self. Its spiritual self created its physical being, created this particular physical uniform, this physical costume, along with the physical personality. Not only that, but the whole destiny, the whole story of your life here has already been thought out by you. You had eternity, which means the middle of forever. You had unlimited time to think about this entire physical existence in collusion and collaboration with your fellow spirits who are here. You had unlimited time to think out every detail. What is this character that I'm going to create, this dream character, this dream self, this human being? Well, where is he going to be born? Who's his parents going to be? What's his personality going to be like? What's he going to think? What's he going to feel? What's he going to dream? What's going to frustrate him? What's going to make him anxious? What's going to make him worried? What's going to disappoint him? And we had unlimited time to think these roles out. And then once everyone thought out their destiny, whether if you lived to be 22, well, that was your destiny. You destined to die at 22, however you died. If you were kidnapped by some fucking thugs and raped and tortured and then beheaded, that's what you chose for yourself as a perfect entity, as a perfect thinking, feeling being. Because you have eternity, you have unlimited time, you have the middle of forever to dream every conceivable dream. And certainly sometime in eternity, you're going to get, bored with dreaming happy dreams, and you're going to dream a fucking insidious dream like this one. But you got to plan it out first. You got to think it out, every bit of it. Now granted, after we've all thought it out, collusion and collaboration with each other, our stories intermingle and intertwine with each other. It's all choreographed for when we meet, how we meet, what happens, what doesn't happen. Once we're all satisfied with what the stories are, then we somehow unleash it and unfurl it via a big bang, like we had a big bang. People say, well, where did the big bang came from? Well, it came from perfect eternal conscious energy, because that's the only thing that could create it. Only something eternal could create something temporary, such as this temporary universe we're in at the moment. Now granted, scientists reckon that Big Bang happened 4 billion years ago. That's certainly a long time, Jack. 4 billion years to wait for your turn on stage. 4 billion years to wait until you live out the fucking personality and life story that you destined for yourself. So is it any wonder that we forgot? I mean, we knew we were going to forget that we wrote the story so that we could experience this fucking dream as if it's the only reality we've ever had or will have. So we knew that in order to experience this dream like it's all fresh and new and mysterious and confusing and bewildering, we knew we had to forget that we were the authors of it. And I would say 4 billion years is certainly enough time to forget. Yeah? 4 billion years is certainly enough time to forget what you planned for yourself. And yet there's these little flickers of fucking deja vu once in a while, isn't there? And I reckon that deja vu is... I don't know. It's part of the package as well. It's part of the story. Just to fuck with ourselves. You say, well, why? Why would perfect spirits want to fuck with themselves? Why would they want to have a life story where they're abused and tortured and eventually murdered or whatever? Like I said, Jack, come on, get on the boat, man. What's eternity? Eternity is the middle of forever. You're an eternal entity. You're an eternal, perfect, thinking, feeling entity. Perfectly equal and equally perfect to all other entities. So, at some point, you are going to get bored with watching comedy. You're going to get bored with watching this, that, or whatever. In other words, you're going to get bored with just the happy-dappy dreams. You're going to want something fucking crazy and bewildering and insidious and sinister and painful and horrible like this one. And see, Jack, you gotta see the value in admitting that this is hell. That this is a nightmare. It's no good pretending like it's some fucking paradise that took a wrong turn X number 1,000 years ago and now we gotta right it and make it good and make it happy-dappy and harmonious. That's not the intent. The intent of this fucking existence, at least as has been and will continue to be for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, is this nasty, insidious, fighting bullshit. I mean, one of the definite evil components of this particular dream world is money, is capitalism, is wealth, is charging people for water, charging people for air, charging people for food and electricity and gasoline and medical assistance and veterinary assistance, charging each other for stuff. You see, as long as we've got that in humanity, there's going to be winners and losers. There's going to be the rich and the poor. And obviously, the fucking richer you become, the more power you have to, pay off various people to do dirty work for you, to crush your competition. And have the kind of world that we have today, where, they bang on and on and on about it, don't they? 95% of the wealth is owned by 5% of the population. Well, that's what happens with capitalism, bitch. And there's fucking people whining and moaning about Google and Amazon and YouTube being huge, being monopolies and stuff. But again, people bitching and whining about Amazon putting out of business the little independent bookstores and so forth. Oh, well. Amazon started off small like everyone else, man. Started off as an idea, started off as a little business, and it grew and grew and grew because it gave money for value. It gave value for money. It gave a great fucking deal. Well, that's one of the essences of fucking capitalism. Give a better deal, give a better service, attract more customers, attract more profit. The bigger the profit, you naturally expand. So yeah, if you can buy a competitor, buy him out. Now you own that competitor. Now he's not a competitor. You own the motherfucker. That's the way capitalism works. And yeah, unfortunately, the bigger and bigger some kind of company or person gets, the more power they acquire. It goes to their fucking head, and they begin things like censorship. They begin censoring people's videos. Jumping on the fucking Alex Joneses and his ilk, deleting their videos, making it so they can't make any money off of their videos, and then, well, where's the fucking freedom of expression? Where's the freedom of choice? Well, YouTube and Google and so forth, they're owned, by individuals. It's a company. It's, you don't have to use it. So they, in a capitalistic society, they have a right to delete your videos or to delete your account or demonetize your videos. That's what happens in a capitalistic society. And it's going to be a capitalistic world for a long time to come. Like I say, hundreds of thousands of years. Now dig, eventually mankind will evolve out of the money system, but there will still be competition. Who's got the prettiest girlfriend? Who's got the most handsome boyfriend? There'll be competition that way. Who's the fastest? Who's the strongest? There'll still be strife. So the point is, we live in hell. We live in hell, and you admit this, and you stop fighting it, and you stop hoping and praying for a better world. It's not going to be a better world. Not in your lifetime, not in your children's lifetime, not in their children's lifetime. I told you, hundreds of thousands of years to come. We wanted this nasty, insidious existence. We wanted it as perfect spirits. We wanted it. Because it's different. Because it's completely fucking different. And now for something completely different. To something completely different. So yeah, this bleeding heart liberal bullshit of, let's just love one another and let's have harmony and peace. You're not going to have it. It's a rat's nest. It's a fighting nest. It's a wasp nest. It's not only a wasp nest, but it's a wasp nest that's being kicked around. So it's an angry nest. It's an angry, nightmarish shithole, this fucking life. Even though 75% of the time in your personal life, things are okay. They could always be better, and that fucks you up. Getting into that better trip. We're going to make a video about slowing down. When are you going to slow down? When are you going to relax? Have you noticed how you try to get through things? Whatever it is you got to do, you're trying to get through it fast so that you can then, I guess, sit down and do the thing you want to do. But it's never what it's cracked up to be. We have a tendency to overrate how good that pizza's going to taste, or how good fun time we're going to have somewhere, or whatever, and But anyways, because 75% of the time things are groovy, things are okay for you, even though there's a list of things that need repaired, replaced, fixed, updated, reconfigured, recalibrated, whatever the fuck, things are okay. You get through the day without any pain, without any hassle, without any bad news, such as an unexpected bill, or someone in your household becoming injured or ill. 75% of the time, things are okay. Things are groovy. And that's another insidious aspect of this nightmare. That way, given that it's 75% of the time, things are grooving along okay, woo boy, when that part of the 25% of the fucked upness comes along, it kicks you upside the head. You go, oh fuck. No matter how hard you try or don't try to be surprised, you still get surprised. You still get shocked. You still get disappointed. But less so as you get older, and especially as you realize, what do I expect? I'm in hell. Of course this kind of shit happens. Of course you're gonna find a bump or a lump or a weird fucking rash or whatever the fuck. Of course. Of course you're gonna, find someone dead or someone half dead, or see someone having a fit, or see somebody vomiting, or, we live in hell. Of course you're gonna have an asshole customer once in a while who's just gonna go bananas and berserk. We live in hell. So while it is a surprise initially, it doesn't stay with you very long, because you realize, hey, this kind of shit happens in hell. Fucking A, it does. I'm gonna hit the pause button, so don't be offended. Now, I want to emphasize that this is not a biblical hell. This is not a religious hell. We were not sent here. We were not made to come here. We were not made to be here. This is not a punishment. This is not a school. This is not for spiritual development or evolution. We are perfect eternal conscious energy. We are already spiritually perfect. We were never born. We were never made. We were never created. We were never invented. Not as spirits. As spirits, we've always existed. We are life itself. We are perfect eternal conscious energy. Each one of us is unique, and yet each one of us is made of the same stuff, so to speak. Composed of the same stuff. And you say, where did this stuff come from? Where did this perfect eternal conscious energy come from? Well, motherfucker, that's the point. It didn't come from anywhere. It is the something that has always existed. It is the original reality. It is our home state of awareness as perfect eternal conscious energy. So from it comes dreams. From it comes dream worlds. From it comes insidious fucking nightmares like this one. And you can bet that there are some really groovy fucking happy dreams that we have as well. This just ain't one of them. Even though 75% of the time things are okay. Even though there are moments or periods or phases where things are fucking great. All green lights. Good news, good news, good news, good news. Bing, bang, boom. But they're just phases, they're just periods. They all come to an end. All good times come to an end, and all bad times come to an end. So, you say, well, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of emphasizing that this is hell? Well, because, man, if you admit it's hell, then you stop acting fucking surprised, or at least you don't spend so much time being stung by the nasty surprises and the nasty bad news that happens 25% of the time, scattered throughout your fucking mortal existence here. You take it a little less serious. You recover from it a bit quicker. It's no fucking miracle thing. There's no cure-all. There are none. There is no permanent enlightenment. There's no permanent eureka. There's no permanent state of transcendence here. It's meant to be an up and down, twist and turn fucking soap opera nightmare, where 75% of the time things are okay, even great. So this is not a simulation. It's not a game. It's not a computer simulation. It's not a challenge. It's a predestined, choreographed fucking spiritual movie. That's what you're living. All the roles, all the dialogue, all the thoughts, feelings, all the psychosis, psychotic episodes, bad moods, bad dreams, bad events, all of it's been thought out beforehand. Well over 4 billion years ago, according to the scientists. That's what they say. They say the Big Bang happened 4 billion years ago. Well, the Big Bang was just the start of the unfolding and unfurling of our prepackaged, predestined fucking dream selves and the prepackaged destiny of this fucking dream world that we're living in. So I feel like I gotta really fucking emphasize that, man, that it's not a biblical hell. It's not a religious hell. We weren't sent here by any God. We didn't send ourselves here for some kind of improvement or as some kind of punishment. It's just, you've got to think about it very simply, very logically, very reasonably, and it is definitely logical and reasonable to assume that if you've got forever and ever to just dream dreams, such as this dream world, then obviously there's going to be a time when you're not going to want to dream another happy dream. You're going to want something different. You're going to want something freaky and spooky and heinous and horrible, such as this nasty little fucking adventure that we're on. It's nasty, Jack. God damn it, it's better to emphasize that than pretend that it isn't, and pretend that you're going to transcend it with love or forgiveness or the power of appreciation or law of attraction or any of that fucking jive. You're not. You're here for the fucking soap opera. You're here for the twists and turns and ups and downs. That's not to say you're not here to feel good when you feel good, and it's not to say that you're not supposed to look both ways before you cross the street. Of course Of course you look both ways before you cross the street. And if you can avoid being a dick, well, of course you avoid being a dick. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you're in a nasty mood. Sometimes you wake up fine and you have, and you get ready for work and something happens, some kind of squabble happens between you and your spouse before you have to go to work, and now your day's fucking ruined. You don't want it to be ruined. God damn it, you don't want it to be ruined. You don't want to let it get to you, but it does. So you're in a sour, piss-ass fucking mood, and, naturally, once in a while, life's going to put somebody in your path who's going to, elicit some kind of dickness from you. Someone's going to act like a pissy asshole, whatever, and you're not going to remain as graceful as you usually are. And then you're going to feel bad about that. Feel bad about being a dick. But most of the time, you just naturally gravitate to peace. And then most of the time you just naturally gravitate to being harmonious and being kind and being friendly and being accommodating and being nice and, avoid being a dick. If you see, if you see a chance to fucking open the door for somebody, you do it because it makes you feel good. If it looks like somebody needs a hand with the fucking groceries to their car or whatever the fuck, you offer it. But, there's going to be times when you don't feel like holding the door for somebody. There'll be times when you don't feel like being generous. You don't feel like being charitable. You don't feel like being helpful. And you got to be easy about this on yourself because you can't fucking help it. I don't know if there's two versions of ourselves here. I can't tell you. I honestly look at it, man. I look inside myself and I think, I don't know where my soul ends and my mortal self begins. So, I can't see any demarcation. And all I know is I reckon that any thoughts that are higher vibrational, that means they're just fearless. They're the epitome of simplicity, fearlessness, and good news. Any of those kind of thoughts, they are relatives, if you will, of higher states of consciousness, cosmic consciousness, a reflection of our home state of awareness. And therefore, they're truthful, it's trustworthy, it's dependable, for what it's worth. The fact of the matter is, no matter what thoughts or ideas lift you up sometimes, or give you relief sometimes, and that's a good thing that they do, there's still times when they won't, because we live in hell. The nature of this hell is that you can't have it too good for too long, that's for sure, in any way, shape, or form. Things that, seem to solve some kind of problems, sometimes it's only temporary. And you solve one problem and some other problem develops somewhere else. We've got these circumstances, situations, and conditions, and the way they're configured, it causes action or no action. And it's all, like I say, it's predestined. What's the value of predestined? What's the value in believing that this world, that this life of ours has already been thought out by our spiritual selves? Well, because you can certainly see that there's, been times in your life when you did good things or great things and it just sort of vomited or ejaculated out of you. You didn't have to, use any strength or effort. It just fucking just fell on your lap or just shot out of you as a brilliant piece of art. And other times, there's been bad things, horrible things, terrible things you've done. And you can look back and you can see that it was the configuration of circumstance, situation, and condition where you just slipped right into it. You fell right into it. Even though you knew it was wrong, even though you knew you'd regret it someday, you just couldn't help it. So, you've got to be the one that gives yourself some slack about these things. You're the one that's got to cut the slack for yourself because the fucking rest of the world ain't going to do it for you. The rest of the world, given that this is hell, has this insidious aspect about it where it demands that you pretend that you have free will, free play, and that you're in control of your impulses and desires and urges and behavior and thoughts and feelings at all times. That's what society demands you believe. That's what society demands you pretend to believe. But, I'm telling you the little secret. In here, you can believe whatever the cunt you want to believe. And believing that this has all been thought out, and that you can't help the good, and that you can't help the bad, and that, what will be will be. It lets you off the hook. Does it let you off the hook from the flames of hell? Does it prevent illness, injury, and pain and misery? No. All of these things are like little coping tools, and they sort of help for a few moments, or for a little while, or once in a while. But that's all we've got to go on. Are the things that I'm saying, have they been predestined? Well, of course they have. Does it feel like that when I'm talking, when I'm babbling? I don't know. It all sort of seems on automatic pilot. I mean, I'm not thinking about the things I'm saying at this very moment. It's just fucking babbling out of me. Just like when I'm writing. Before I write, I have to have the first sentence, or the first idea or point. If I know what that is, then I start writing, and by the time I finish that first sentence, the second point, the second thought has arrived, and I just keep writing until the sentences stop arriving. Pretty much how I make these fucking videos. I just babble until I just get the indication from within that it's time to shut up and hit the stop button. It's time for a little toast to our good buddy Alan Wilson Watts. Alan Wilson Watts. So you understand, this is hell. It's not a biblical hell. It's not a religious hell. It's not a game. It's not a simulation. It's a predestined, choreographed spiritual movie that every one of us as spirits thought out before the Big Bang. And now, yeah, you're going to be wanting to know proof. What's the proof? What proof do you have about this? Why, you fuckhead. There's no way to prove your answers to the philosophical, spiritual enlightenment questions. There's no way you can prove the answers to be true, or false for that matter. So it comes down to sort of a gamble, sort of a leap of faith. And what you want to do is you want to think about this shit long enough so that that leap of faith becomes really, really, really tiny, so that it's hardly a fucking leap at all. Now, if you look around in the room that you're in, whether you've got eyes or even if you're blind, you're still able to think about the objects in your room. The floor, the chair, the bed, the walls, the ceiling, the light, and whatever's in your room. I'm looking at a bottle of tequila. I'm looking at a glass of ginger ale and Red Bull. I'm looking at a computer monitor. I'm looking at a cigar box, which I think was made like in the 1930s or some shit. I bought it at an antique shop for £1. I'm looking at books. I'm looking at a pair of reading spectacles. I'm looking at a glass pipe. I'm looking at a desk. All these objects began as thoughts first. Would you not agree? Am I talking gibberish here? I mean, this glass. Well, the glass didn't just pop out of nothingness, did it? I wasn't sitting here with an empty hand, was I, and say, I think I want a glass of ginger ale. No, someone had to think about making the glass. Someone had to think, I'm going to make a glass. Perhaps they're a glass manufacturer. And they said, yep, I'm going to make a pint glass. And it's going to be this high and this wide and so on and so forth. And they made it, didn't they? But it began as a thought first. All the objects in your room began as thoughts first. These glasses, they didn't just, appear out of nothingness all of a sudden. Someone had to make them. In order to make them, they had to think about them first, and they probably drew a design on paper. But they had to think about it first. All the man-made objects in this world began as thoughts first. Do you see where this is going? Therefore, all the nature-made objects, the human beings, the bugs, the trees, the plants, the flowers, the earth, the sun, the moon, the planets, the galaxies, the sky, all of these nature-made objects, they had to have begun as thoughts first. The only thing that could think is some kind of thinking, feeling entity. Given that this is a temporary world, we can tell it's a temporary world. We can tell that every living thing dies, including planets and suns, stars, given that they all croak, we know that it's temporary, and we know that these things, these nature-made objects, we know that these temporary nature-made objects, well, I shouldn't say nature-made, I should say, we know that these temporary objects could not have created themselves. We know that mankind did not create mankind. And so it had to be, if not a temporary thinking, feeling entity, then it had to be a eternal thinking, feeling entity who conceived, who thought about suns, moons, galaxies, who thought about the earth, who thought about trees, flowers, plants, bugs, animals, humans. That's only a tiny little leap of faith. And that's all we have. That's our gamble. Now, if you're gonna make this gamble, well, when you look at the fucking religious books of the world, there's just so much drivel. Well, they don't address these things. They don't talk in a simple, clear language. See, there's 3 questions related really at the heart of philosophy, spirituality, enlightenment, and religion. There's 3 questions. Why am I alive as a temporary creature in a temporary world? That's one question. The second question is there a puppet master God creator who created all of this and all of the creatures? And if so, what are its qualities? And if not, can life still exist? And the third question is, what happens when I die? Do I really stop thinking and feeling forever and ever? And so, you will agree, if those religions bother to address those questions at all, their answers are essentially gibberish. They're not satisfying. They're not logical. They're not reasonable. And they're certainly not the epitome of simplicity, fearlessness, and good news. When I had that wonderful experience with higher states of consciousness via MDMA in October of 1988, higher states of consciousness informed me that the truth, that the answer to all spiritual, philosophical, enlightenment, and religious questions has to match up to the criteria of simplicity, fearlessness, and good news. There cannot be the slightest thread of negativity in the answer. No way. Now you show me the slightest thread or particle of complexity, fear, or bad news in my dream world theory. You show me the tiniest thread or particle of fear, complexity, or bad news in my idea about perfect eternal conscious energy. There's not a particle. I guarantee you that even if mankind is on this planet for another 1,000,000 years, there will never be a simpler, more fearless, more better news oriented idea or answer to the fundamental questions than this idea about perfect eternal conscious energy. Can't conceive of anything higher or better than that. So, this is hell. It was meant to be hell. It was meant to be hellish. It was meant to be nightmarish. How dare you lie? How dare you lie? How dare you lie and say that this is some kind of precious gift, that this is some kind of paradise, that this is some kind of sweetheart of a world? It's not. Rape doesn't happen in paradise. Mosquitoes with malaria, no, you won't find them in paradise. Pretty faces with beautiful deep cleavages hiding really ugly personalities, you won't find that in paradise. Asshole cad men who will tell you anything and promise you the moon and promise you marriage and promise you babies just to fuck you and then dump you. That don't happen in paradise. The classic woman who keeps fucking being attracted to men who end up beating the shit out of her. That don't happen in paradise. Your precious, beautiful, friendly, loving, happy little child who dies of fucking cancer at 5 years old. That don't happen in paradise. Herpes doesn't happen in paradise. Syphilis, gonorrhea, AIDS, headaches, migraines, kidney stones, toothache, lymph node infections, hives, poison ivy. That stuff doesn't happen in paradise. So you're actually empowered by believing that this is hell, admitting that this is hell. And pay attention. Pay attention to the next time you see somebody acting like an asshole. Pay attention how you can tell they're totally caught up. They can't help it. And pay attention the next time you've been an asshole. Quickly look back at it and realize, you couldn't help yourself. Even though you know better. Even though your heart is in the right place. There's just times when you lose it. Because that's the way it was meant to be. You're not here making it up as you go along. This is not free will, free play. You have free will, free play in reality heaven. The place where you conceive this fucking dream world. There you got free will, free play. You can think whatever you want to think, feel whatever you want to feel, and dream whatever you want to dream. None of it threatens your existence in any way, shape, or form. But here, once you're locked into a fucking dream, once you're locked into a spiritual movie, that's it, Jack. Your dialogue's already been written. Your bad moods, your shitty behavior, your good moods, your good behavior, it's all been fucking conceived. It's already been set in stone, so to speak. I know that there's psychics out there who say, well, the future's not written in stone. These are just indications and blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. It's all written in stone, Jack. It's all fixed. It's a fixed ride. You're going to suffer no matter what you think or don't think, do or don't do. You're still going to suffer at times. Man, there's times when you feel okay, isn't there? There's times when you feel okay, and yet you come across a piece of bad news in the newspaper. Some lady saw a cat, picked it up and dropped it into a fucking waste bin thingy and dropped a lid on it and just left it there. That bums you out, man. Or, you're on the bus. You've been feeling okay. It's a groovy day. Things are all right within yourself. Things are okay circumstantially, situationally, conditionally. And then you see some chav fucking bitch smacking her kid, or talking really mean to it. You think, wow, that's fucked. The poor kid. But you also think, well, motherfuckers wrote their roles. It's just a drag to have to be a witness to the fucking hell and the shit and the pain that other people go through sometimes. But there you go. So you're grooving along during your 75% of the time of feeling okay, and something like that. You see someone being mean to someone, see someone being mean to an animal, or you see something that upsets you. And again, you never know when that's going to happen. That's part of the 25% of the time, isn't it? 25% bad news, bad shit. So, just, you're here to flip and flop and twist and turn and go up and down and all around. It's meant to be. pause button. Don't be offended. So we live in hell. It's not a biblical hell, it's not a religious hell, it's not a game, it's not a simulation, it's not a mistake, it's not an error in judgment, it's not a punishment. We're not here to learn, we're not here to grow as spirits. It's a predestined, choreographed, spiritual movie that's already been thought out and conceived and planned and scripted long before the Big Bang. And there's no escape, there's no solution, there's no panacea, there's no pill, there's no idea, there's no practice or exercise or diet that's going to interfere or interrupt your story. And the story of every living creature in this fucking temporary world contains shit and ice cream, pain and no pain, from the cradle to the grave. Death is but waking up from this fucking nightmare. But if you think you're gonna fucking rush to it suicide-wise, well, suicide can only be part of the fucking destined story or not. If suicide is not in your destiny because you did not put it there, then you will not die via suicide. And you've got to keep in mind that the reason why you're here in the first place, the reason why you're dreaming this dream, is because on the other side, which is home, which is your home state of awareness, which is reality heaven, well, it's very simple there. There's nothing physical about it, so to speak. There's not a bunch of fucking buildings or castles in the sky or, beautiful people and so on and so forth. No, it's a state of awareness. It's a state of being. It's very peaceful. There's virtually nothing going on. There's virtually nothing to think about, virtually nothing to know. It's very, very restful. That's why it's very curiously appropriate that we say R.I.P., rest in peace, because that's exactly what you do for a while. After a while, peace and rest gets boring. You are consciousness. You are a logical, reasonable entity. You get tired of the same old after a while. Yes, peace, bliss, it becomes boring after a while. If it's just non-stop, after a while you become numb. But thankfully, because you're perfect eternal conscious energy, you have an imagination and you have an ability to spend unlimited time. Instead of resting in peace, you have unlimited time to think and conceive these fucking dream worlds that you want to experience. You have unlimited time to think out the story, to think out every detail of the story, to plan out every moment of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year, until your last moment. It's all been planned out. You had the time. Yes, you had the time to plan it all out. And now here we are. This is not a mistake. This is not an error. Yes, the horrible shit is horrible. The atrocities are atrocious. It's no fucking joke about it. They are. They're terrible. It's horrible. Pain is a fucking nasty, insidious, shitty, horrible fucking thing. No doubt about it. But it doesn't do a goddamn thing to us as spirits. Even though there's this expression throughout humanity, something to the effect of, oh well, they broke his spirit. Well, we know what he means by that, but they didn't actually break the actual spirit. And it was all part of the fucking game anyways, part of the fucking film, part of the movie, part of the play. It was part of the script. That they did something that just wore the motherfucker down so that the fucker gave up. And they say they broke his spirit. Well, they broke the spirit of that character, that dream character, but the actual spirit is not touched by anything that we go through here. Our spirit is not improved by our experiences here, nor is it diminished by any experiences here. No matter how good, how holy, how charitable, how friendly, how wonderful you are here, it doesn't add anything to you as a spirit. No matter how evil, heinous, nasty, insidious, shitty, diabolical, mean-spirited, and cunting that you are, it doesn't diminish you as a spirit one bit. You ain't gonna get a simpler explanation for why the fuck you exist here as this temporary creature and why your life sucks sometimes. And it's only natural that when you feel like your life sucks, well, it feels like it's always sucked and that it sucks most of the time. But then see, vice versa happens when you're feeling good, when you're feeling on top of the world, or you're even just feeling okay, feeling alright. It feels like most of the time you do feel okay, you do feel alright. And you do, 75% of the time. It's just that 25% that's peppered and scattered throughout. That nice nasty kick in the fucking head. So believing that this is hell, believing that it's a predestined movie, a pre-scripted movie, lets you off the hook for being an asshole, lets you off the hook for not being able to make things happen that you think should have happened or haven't happened yet. And you got assholes, naturally, perfectly, you've got assholes in your life who say, well, if it hasn't happened by now, it's not likely gonna happen. And you say, fuck you. I'm with fucking Yogi Berra. Not the fucking cartoon character, but the legendary baseball coach. He said, it ain't over till it's over. And it don't matter, you know. There's a beautiful line from an Ozzy Osbourne song. I shouldn't even credit Ozzy Osbourne because he didn't write the fucking song, but it's on his I can't remember which album it's from. I just remember that it's from one of those two albums featuring Randy Rhoads on guitar. But it was a line, dreams that have shattered may not have mattered. Take another point of view. You gotta. Otherwise you're just gonna fucking twist and turn in that sour milk of fucking regret or fucking loss or failure or whatever. So, you know, if the dreams have shattered, well, fuck it. Maybe they didn't even matter. It just, you know, they acted like little locomotives to get you through that part of your life. You know? It gave you excitement, it gave you adventure, it gave you something to aim for, and just because it, you know, ended in disaster or failure doesn't mean that it was a waste of life or waste of time. And again, you scheduled everything, you wrote everything. So even your failures, you know, they were intentional. There's things that are expected of you by your spouse or children or somebody, and sometimes you just can't do it. You can't do it when they want it done. It's not that you're consciously choosing to be a dick or anything. It's just that the energy inside you ain't there to fucking do that thing that they think needs to be done right away or should have been done last week or whatever, you know. You gotta wait until it all lines up inside of you and you're ready to go. It's sort of a feeling akin to strike while the iron's hot. You gotta wait until the iron's hot. You know, even though other people are saying, oh, well, it should be hot by now. Well, you say, I'm sorry. You know, I'll do it when it's, you know, when I'm ready to do it, when it's meant to happen. I'm not being stubborn. I'm not being a dick. I'm telling you, you know, I try to be as accommodating as I can. I try to do whatever is expected of me or whatever I obligate myself to do. But, you know, sometimes you just, you know, like I say, the configuration ain't happening. The energy ain't available at the moment for that particular task or thing. So Like I say, you let yourself off the hook about these things. You have to. Otherwise, you're just going to twist and turn in that fucking sour milk, man. You know, so that's why we gravitate to this idea of predestiny. We gravitate to this idea that we are perfect eternal conscious energy, and that this is hell, a deliberate hell that we wanted to experience, as a contrast to the mostly happy dreams that we probably dream as spirits. Although I don't mean to get too deep or technical on you here, but the fact is, you know, how can you have any kind of happy dream without some kind of contrast within it? You know, I mean, if things always worked out exactly the way you wanted them to, exactly as fast as you wanted them to, I think after a while, man, that would get dull. That would get numb. You would rather have some surprises once in a while. Some surprises where what you wanted, what you expected to happen, doesn't happen. Or maybe even the opposite happens. Because we're conscious beings, and consciousness obviously gets bored with the same old after a while. That's not to say it doesn't enjoy stability. That's not to say it doesn't enjoy nice periods of things grooving along with no pain or hassles. But like I say, a constant anything becomes dull and boring after a while. So we favor contrast. And and that's why, you can be having a groovy time, feeling okay, and go to bed feeling groovy, feeling okay, and next day wake up sort of off color. Just sort of meh. You're not ill, you're not sick, but you don't feel as top of the world as you've been feeling. And and there's nothing different about your diet, nothing different about your drug or alcohol consumption. It's just the way it is. Some days you wake up feeling meh, bleh. It's not a failure, it's not a mistake. It feels good to emphasize that, spiritually speaking anyways, there are no mistakes, there are no errors, there are no failures. Losses or whatever don't matter. They don't mean fuck. I mean, of course it's supposed to mean something to your character. Your character's supposed to experience the disappointment and the worry and any negative feelings that come with so-called failure or loss. But again, as I said a little while ago, I don't know where my soul ends and my mortal self begins. So I don't know how much of our commentary has already been predestined, or if the commentary is the only free will we have here. And it's a kind of commentary that just simply, absolutely cannot interfere with the story in any way, shape, or form. It's just sort of commentary, sort of like DVD commentary. Talking over a movie about how the movie was made and what we did and what we had to do to make that scene happen and blah blah blah. In a way, that's sort of like all our commentary is here in this world. If it's even free will, free play. It could be very likely that even our commentary, inner commentary and outer commentary, has already been thought out. We don't know. And obviously we're not supposed to know, and even if you do know, it's not going to interfere or interrupt the story that you've already scheduled, you see. So you sort of, as you get older, you gradually get off this kick. You get off this fucking ridiculous obsession, this ridiculous quest to try to find some way to avoid pain and misery and illness and injury and disease. There is no avoiding that shit. When that shit's scheduled to happen, it's going to happen. It don't matter whether you take vitamins or don't take vitamins. It don't matter whether you drink a quart of fucking whiskey a day or 1 shot a day or no whiskey a day. It don't matter whether you smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day or no cigarettes a day. Your illnesses, your injuries, your diseases, your bad news, it was all scheduled to happen. There's nothing you can do or not do, think or not think, that's going to interfere with your fucking story. I think as time goes on, we'll add to these video files, but I think for now that's enough. This has been the Al Newport Show. I've been your host, Alexander T. Newport, your Philobabblist Extraordinaire.